Hey guys, another reading vlog today. There's going to be quite a few of them over the next couple of weeks because I got on a lot of blog tours for upcoming releases for September and October. This time it's The Killing Code by Ellie Marney. Cool cover. I don't know anything about this one before going into it other than it is a murder mystery set in World War II following code breakers. Now, I was interested in this because I've been really into murder mysteries lately, but historical fiction has always been a major hit or miss genre for me. There are some that I've read and absolutely adored. Carrie Maniscalco is one of them. Stalking Jack the Ripper was amazing. I loved it. Most other historical fiction, especially World War II historical fiction, falls really flat for me. Like books that were really big, All the Light We Cannot See, Codename Verity. I hated them all. Like I either gave them 1 stars or I DNF'd them. So I'm excited to see which side of the line I fall on with this. I'm pushing my time boundary again. It's got to go up by 8 p.m. tomorrow. It's currently 11:32 p.m. So I've got not long to read it. So let's go. Not a lot happened in the opening, but we are introduced to some key characters and some setup. So we have 2 girls initially, Catherine and Kathleen. Catherine is an upper class girl at boarding school, but has been ill her entire life. And Kathleen is her maid, Kira. And just before Catherine dies, not a spoiler, it happens very early on, they have a conversation about Kathleen taking Catherine's identity and living a life she would never get to live otherwise. And after Catherine's death, she's planning on doing just that when she is stopped by some people working for the war effort and is offered a job as a code breaker. So she takes it. We then jump forward 9 months, so we're in 1943 now. In real world history, America is well into the war, and working alongside Britain and France. And she's working as a code breaker, going by Kit. And she seems to have an aptitude for it. It's mentioned she's broken 2 or 3 codes in the space of a month, which if you've watched movies like the Enigma game, you know how difficult some of those codes were to break. Meaning Kit is a lot smarter than we are led to believe from her social standing. However, it is pitched as a World War II murder mystery, so I'm waiting for that first murder to happen and for Kit to get involved in it and for the story to start moving. So I'll check back in a bit when something interesting happens. guys, forgive the way I look today. I'm pretty sick. But I'm a quarter of the way through the killing code, and we now have not one, but two murders. First is Libby, who is from Kit's unit, and she knows her pretty well. And she went to a dance with Dottie at another unit, and Dottie was drugged, and Libby was quite brutally murdered. And they find out from Violet, who's working in the segregated unit, that Dinah, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, a young black girl, was also murdered 3 weeks before, and the killer left Dinah's glasses at the scene of Libby's murder. So they know that this is connected, but the police aren't looking into it purely because Dinah was a young black woman, and at this time, the early 40s, America's still very segregated, so they decide to look into it themselves. And they know the first thing they have to do is get more information, see if there have been more murders, see if they're connected. But that's going to be hard because none of them really have the level of clearance to get that information, but they're going to try. The way the murders were introduced was interesting because it was Kit just being concerned that Dottie hadn't come home from this dance, so they go there trying to find her, thinking she might have got drunk or she'd just fallen asleep somewhere, to literally stumble upon the murder scene by accident. So I am excited to see where this goes. The premise does give us the fact that it's a serial killer, but I can't wait to see what happens with it. I'm about 35% done now. My next check-in will be at the halfway mark, but we are getting some movement now. So we've got Violet, Moya, Kit and Dottie working together to try and put all the pieces of these two murders together to find a pattern, the same way they would with their code breaking. However, they are missing quite a lot of information because they can't get to it. It's being kept by the police or by the government, and they can't get to it, so they're going to have to find out for themselves. However, it is Kit and Moya that realise to get this information there probably is going to be another murder, and they don't want someone else to die for them to figure it out. So they're going to have to put their heads together. Violet does bring in some information from the contacts at the local hospital where the bodies were taken, and they realise these girls were strangled, but that wasn't the cause of death. They were stabbed to death. They were both raped, and they had anti-Semitic symbols carved into their body. So they are 100% sure that the murderer, whether he's American, whether he's a serviceman, is in major support of the Germans, and might even have potentially some German heritage or connections to the Germans. So that is something they are going to have to look into further. I wasn't overly pleased with the potential romance coming into play. We can see that Moya has some attraction for Kit. Kit is completely oblivious. She's more focused on the fact that there are reviews coming up for the security clearance, and it's going to involve some deeper checks, and that potentially her real identity is going to come out, or the fact that the real Catherine is actually dead, which means sooner or later she's going to have to make a run for it. So obviously they're working on a very tight schedule. I don't think a romance is necessary in this kind of story. Like, it can work well, like A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. The relationship between Pip and Ravi, despite being a romance, works really well in the grand scheme of things, and they do actually start out as really good friends. Kit and Moya aren't really friends. Like, Moya is Kit's superior, and she kind of treats her as such. Although with the murders now, they are seeing each other on a more personal level, but they're not friends. So I don't know how that element is going to play out and whether or not I'm going to enjoy it, but I'm going to have to wait and see. So I'm at the halfway point now in the book. There haven't been any new murders, but they did find a third that might potentially be connected to the murders of Dinah and Libby. But the MO is different, so they're still putting a major question mark over that. They have found a connection in Rafi, who is a reporter. He works the crime beat, and they're using him to get potential information. And he directs them to a local party that's happening with some very rich and influential people. And being as this killer likes to target parties, Libby was at one when she was killed, and Dinah was potentially working a second job at another party. So Moya and Kit are going undercover as bait, as they fit the profile of the other girls, while Dottie and Violet are going undercover as wait staff to try and get any behind the scenes gossip. While this party is for politically connected rich people, they do have a basic profile. They're looking for a man, as he rapes girls, and they're looking for someone young, as the type of parties he is targeting are primarily for younger people. We do get some minor development in the relationship between Kit and Moya, which was nice to see, to see a queer romance during this time period is unusual, but I'm interested in it. Also, I'm not sure what's happening. Like, we had the murders, big reveals there, but things have slowed down a lot. They're not uncovering much new information. There's been no new murders. They're not really going anywhere. That's why I think something is going to happen at this party. Either there's going to be another murder, or one of our 4 girls is going to be targeted by the killer. Because we are halfway, so about this point I'd be expecting the story to pick up pace, for plot lines to be moving along, for discoveries to be made. In the plot line with Kit's identity, there's not much happening. We know the reviews are going alphabetically, and they now are in the S's for surname, which means her assumed surname Sutherland is coming up soon. She hasn't made any decisions or any moves about what she's going to do with that. Like, she hasn't spoken to Violet about potentially getting through the review. She hasn't made any decisions about when or how she's going to leave, if she is going to leave. So I'm just a bit confused as where the author's going with everything right now. My next check-in will be at the 3/4 mark, and then again at the end. So hopefully we'll get some reveals and some new information soon. I'm 3/4 of the way through now, and things are really starting to pick up pace. Kit has learnt that there are now 4 murders they're looking at. One took place at the party they were at, and they missed it by minutes. And they also learned that the girl that drowned, that they didn't think was connected, and was, and that she was the first murder in January, and that the killer is picking up speed with this new murder. Between that and Libby's, it's only 5 days, so they know they have days before the next murder is committed and to catch the killer. From the party, they do have quite a few suspects that they're looking at, but I think they're missing an obvious choice in Emil, who works with them. He fits their profile completely, but I think they're not looking at him because they think they know him. The other storyline with Kit's identity is also picking up because at the party, she's introduced to someone as Catherine Sutherland, who knows the family, and basically says in front of Moya and in front of Dottie that Catherine Sutherland is dead, and Kit runs off thinking she has to get out, and it's Violet who's there to give her an out. But things don't work out as planned, as an air raid siren goes off and prevents Kit's leaving, and then they decide for Kit to stay until her day off on Wednesday, and she can leave then. But with everything picking up pace and Kit finally starting to make some connections between the murders, she doesn't want to leave. But then when her security clearance is questioned, it's Moya and Emil who vouch for her. And I think if Emil is the killer, he has his eye on Kit as his next victim, since he's being overly friendly to her when they haven't really spoken much in the entirety of the novel. Kit manages to get through his security clearance with the help of Moya, Violet and Dottie, who switch out the phone numbers. So she's got a bit of breathing room right now. We don't have that long left in the novel, but my pick for the killer is Emil. But I'm going to have to wait and see what kind of reveals Marnie gives us in the last quarter. Just finished The Killing Code by Ellie Marnie. It was a good book, there was nothing exceptionally groundbreaking about it. It's a queer historical romance, murder mystery element, but nothing exceptional. Like the murder mystery, I figured out who the killer was about halfway through. There was no real big twist towards the ending. Kit's identity was also found out about halfway, and while her resolution as a character was interesting, there was nothing really groundbreaking about it. Like, It was good. I enjoyed it. It was satisfying, the ending. But there was nothing really new. Like, historical murder mysteries have been done. Queer historical romance has been done. And it didn't really add anything new. You know, and that's all I can really say about it. It's, you know, it was decent. There were good elements. There could have been more. She could have done more with the serial killer murder mystery. I think it would have been an even bigger twist reveal at the end to have Kit be in a romance with the killer, and finding out, you know, their identity towards the end would have been more shocking. Could have done more with the romance. Like, even though it's the 40s, it's segregation, queer romance isn't a thing, to have them be maybe a bit more open and proud about it would have been better. But it was just good. Don't really know what more I can say about that. It was good.